Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into something absolutely wild, a literal monumental leap right at the intersection of AI and biology. We're talking about a breakthrough that actually lets us build a functional digital twin of the human brain. Let's get right into it. Now, I want you to just stop and consider this for a second. What if we could map the entire human brain using AI? Imagine having a digital model that can predict exactly how our minds react to the world around us. Every single sight, every sound, every spoken word. And here's the crazy part. This isn't just sci-fi theory anymore. We are literally talking about unlocking the mechanics of human cognition and fundamentally changing how we study the mind. So to understand how we get there, we need to define a term you're going to be hearing a lot today. It's called in silico neuroscience. Basically, this is the process of running biological experiments on a computer using digital models. Think of it like creating a giant virtual sandbox for the brain. Instead of always needing to shove a real person inside a massive, noisy MRI machine for every single test, researchers can now simulate human brain responses entirely in code. It's a total game changer. Okay, Section 1, the neuroscience fragmentation problem. You see, historically, neuroscience has kind of relied on this divide and conquer approach. Researchers would build highly specialized, really fragmented models just to study one specific thing, like how we see motion in one area of the brain, or how we process a single face in another. Honestly, it's like trying to understand a massive symphony by locking all the individual instruments in completely separate rooms. But the new way? It's all about a unified foundation model that listens to the entire symphony at once. It's what we call multimodal, meaning it takes in multiple senses simultaneously, and it draws on a massive scale of 720 subjects, rather than just doing those single subject isolated tests. Which brings us to Section 2, Meet Tribe V2. So Tribe V2 is this incredible trimodal AI foundation model specifically designed to solve that massive fragmentation problem we just talked about. It takes state-of-the-art, pre-trained AI models for video, audio, and language. By the way, these are the exact same foundation models driving today's whole generative AI boom. And it combines them. It takes these three streams of data and feeds them into a massive transformer network with a billion learnable parameters. A billion! All to predict high-resolution fMRI brain activity. So basically, the AI watches a video, hears the audio, reads the text transcript, and then predicts exactly which areas of the human cortex are going to light up. But the absolute most crucial point here is the sheer human scale of the data making this possible. Over 1,000 hours. That is the amount of high-resolution fMRI recordings they use to train and test this model. And this represents brain activity recorded from people who are just, lying in scanners. They were passively watching documentaries, taking in movies, listening to podcasts, literally the exact same things we all do to unwind every single day. Let's actually break down that training data a bit further to really understand this multimodal mind. To build this digital twin, the AI was fed 132 hours of video, 153 hours of audio, and an absolutely astonishing 79,000 sentences of text spanning across those 720 unique subjects. And what's just so fascinating to me here is that researchers are literally using the very same technology behind modern chatbots and media AI to map directly onto human biological networks. All right, moving on to Section 3, predicting human brain activity. Because, it's one thing to just build the model, right? But how well does this AI actually predict human brain activity? Well, as you can see, the resulting heat maps show significant accuracy across the whole brain. We're talking the visual cortex, the auditory regions, the language centers, the whole shebang. It significantly outperforms the traditional linear baselines that scientists have relied on for years. And crucially, this is big, the model's accuracy scales predictably with more data. There is literally no plateau in sight. The more brand data you feed it, the smarter it gets. Now here is a truly fascinating reality. Tribe V2 predicts a group's average brain response better than actual individual human recordings. Seriously. It can take data from totally new, unseen subjects, people it was never even trained on, and zero-shot generalize to predict their brain activity with incredible precision. So in a very real sense, the AI's digital simulation is actually a cleaner representation of the human baseline than a single physical human brain scan. Just wow. Let's look at Section 4, running virtual brain experiments. So how do you test a human brain without a human actually being present in a cramped, noisy MRI machine? Well, you run in silico visual experiments. Researchers fed the AI models specific images, flashing pictures of faces, places, and bodies without any human connected to it at all. And Guess what? The AI accurately lit up the exact right regions. It activated the fusiform face area for faces and the extra striate body area for bodies, exactly like a real human brain would. It's successfully recovered classic neuroscience findings, stuff established by decades of empirical research, entirely in code. And guys, it doesn't stop at vision. In silico neurolinguistics allows researchers to test the AI with language processing tasks too. By feeding it complex sentences versus simple word lists or human speech versus natural sounds, the model successfully isolated the exact core language processing areas of the brain, areas like the superior temporal sulcus and Broca's area. It even predicted the higher lateralization to the left hemisphere that we naturally see in humans when we parse syntax and semantics. Let's jump to Section 5, Mapping the Multimodal Mind. When looking at multisensory integration, this RGB color scale reveals which modalities actually drive which brain regions. So audio, in green, completely dominates the temporal regions, and video, in blue, dominates the visual cortex. Makes sense, right? But look at the text, in red. It heavily activates semantic and prefrontal areas. And see where the colors mix into cyan and yellow? That shows us exactly where our brain integrates multiple senses at once, like around the temporal parietal occipital junction, just to make sense of the world around us. Here is the craziest part. Without any explicit programming telling it how the brain works, Tribe V2 naturally learns core functional networks. It just organized its latent features into well-known biological systems all on its own. If you observe the independent components, it naturally found the primary auditory cortex, the visual system, and even the default mode network. It literally figured out the brain's organizational map purely from observing the data. No handholding required. Okay, wrapping things up with Section 6, the future of neuroscience. Now, as amazing as Tribe V2 is, the researchers do acknowledge a few current limitations that kind of dictate the next steps for expanding this digital twin. First off, they need to overcome the slow temporal resolution of fMRI. It just can't quite capture those rapid millisecond by millisecond dynamics of neuronal firing. Second, the current model basically treats the brain as a passive observer of naturalistic stimuli. So the next step is incorporating active behaviors and agent-driven responses. And crucially, if we want to map the full diversity of the global population, the model needs to integrate clinical pathology and neurodevelopmental trajectories. We have to move beyond just a static, healthy adult baseline, you know? Which brings us to a really defining summary from the researchers themselves. They said, the present results strengthen the possibility of a paradigm shift in neuroscience, moving from the fragmented mapping of isolated cognitive tasks toward the use of unified predictive foundation models. Essentially, we are officially moving away from studying isolated little fragments to having a completely unified predictive sandbox of the human mind. And really, that leaves us with this powerful, lingering question. If AI can accurately model the brain's responses today, what behaviors is it going to unlock tomorrow? Because as these digital twins scale with more data and grow more and more sophisticated, the possibilities for understanding ourselves and potentially healing the mind are truly boundless. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep wondering and keep exploring.